CG Ruthless Sports. I will be brutally honest. Ain't nothing but being brutally honest. Coming at you with another video.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Ted Talk Ball, man. How's it going, bro?
Good, CG. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Love what you do, and excited to get to chop it up with you here again. It was a pleasure having you on my show, and glad that I'm able to now come on your show to make it a clean sweep, if you will.
Yeah, just like we did in Seattle, but third time.
Third time. Yeah, that was awfully sweet. I don't know that we've ever beaten a team 3 times in one season before. It doesn't seem like we have.
I don't think so. The last time Seattle got beat 3 times was in 2004 by the St. Louis Rams.
Ah, interesting. So I didn't know that they'd even ever been beat 3 times before themselves. I'm sure this is a lot more painful for them, though, because back then, they weren't that good back then, were they?
They were a pretty solid team. They won the division, but the Rams were like that team in the wild card that knocked them out.
Right on.
Yeah, dude, it's an honor to even be on your show, and you've been growing your channel slowly. You've been having a good amount of people. You've been working with good content creators, and, I've been keeping an eye on you from time to time, and I got to say you do a pretty damn good job.
Hey, thanks a lot. Likewise to you, too. And, yeah, I noticed you there. You made some comments in the audience, and I appreciate everybody who comes to be a part of the audience. They're what makes these shows great is all the interaction. And there we've got some of the good folks there, Raphael, Bryant Culp, we see them a lot. And then some others that I don't know as well that maybe you'll call out that are
this
more
guy.
people, but yeah.
And then this Cardinal fan who comes on my stream because he comes on the NFC West Network, but he's a good dude, good sport.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, audience members, they keep it lively. Like a lot of times I'll come up with not agenda items, but topic guidelines, I like to call them, because ultimately it's most fun when it's just like a conversation and we just sort of see where it goes and meanders. But it's always good to have things to kind of fall back onto. And then the audience can always steer us in a whole new direction. It can be extra fun. So it's always great.
Yeah, it is, because I start to improve what I can improve on, and a lot of people suggest me to do more of the Niners content and sort out the old channel so I could do this one, and it's kind of paying huge dividends for me right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's Niner season. People want to talk playoffs. We've got at least one more week here. Last week when we scheduled, I was like, boy, I hope we win so that we have some good stuff to talk about a win versus the Seahawks. It's crazy going into that game. You may think this is nuts, and I think a lot of people probably do, but I was almost rather to play the Green Bay Packers. There was that game Sunday night a week ago, 8 days ago, where it was the Lions in Lambeau against the Packers. And I was like, I almost want the Packers to win, even though I felt like the Packers would be a tougher opponent for us to beat. Just the thought, like, if we lost to the Green Bay Packers, like, it would suck. But losing to the Seattle Seahawks would have sucked royally because of, sweeping them this season for the first time since 2011. And losing in the playoffs would basically eliminate that, just like it did when we swept the Rams last year in 2021 and then lost to them in the playoffs. It pretty much nullified that sweep in most people's eyes. So I don't know. It just was one of those weird things where I was like, I don't know, losing to Rodgers somehow wouldn't have felt as bad as losing to Geno Smith, I guess. And the Seahawks, I just hate the Seahawks the most. They're my most hated team. And so, I kind of figured we'd beat either team, to be honest. But I just figured on the off chance that we did lose, I would have rather have lost to the Green Bay Packers. So
You ain't the only one that feels that same way, man, because that was the last thing I wanted to play was the Seahawks, because it's hard to beat them a third time because you don't get that often. And like you said, I would prefer the Packers because we phoned them. And like you said, losing to Rodgers wouldn't be the end of the world because he would have got his pay back. Or having the Detroit Lions would have been interesting because they're like a young, hungry team. The Seahawks, I never would have thought this would have been a cakewalk at first. But in the first half, it kind of seemed stressful. And then second half, we just played better football. But speaking of this game, give me your thoughts of the wild card game.
I thought it was going to be close. I think I predicted I didn't get my prediction in. Usually I post my official weekly prediction for each game about an hour before playoffs. This week I was at the game, and so I was like walking into the stadium and just kind of slipped my mind and I didn't get my prediction off. So I kind of just went with what I've been saying in shows all week, which was kind of like I thought we'd score about 28, and I thought the Seahawks would score between like 21 and 23 is sort of what I was saying. So it wasn't an exact prediction, but since I didn't get in time, I just said I'll just go with what I've been saying all week. And so I did think it was going to be close. I figured, it's the Seahawks not third time playing Brock, but they were the first team to play Brock again, right? None of the other teams obviously have had a second crack at Brock Purdy. I'd heard some things about their defense that, Jordan Brooks was out there, middle linebacker, but like they were saying that Cody Barton, who had been playing the weak side linebacker, was playing well at the mic at the middle. And then some Seahawks fans that I had on last week were telling me, Tanner Muse is pretty good in coverage. So maybe the combination of Muse at weak side and Cody Barton at mic might be better than Cody Barton at weak side and Jordan Brooks at mic. And Brooks is obviously an excellent tackler, but I guess there's some issues with his coverage. So they were kind of saying that he was maybe, I like to say this, like subtraction or addition by subtraction. In other words, you take him out and your team gets better by taking him out. And, obviously Tariq Woolen has been playing really well. He was in that defensive rookie of the year conversation with Sauce Gardner. Quandre Diggs, their free safety, had been playing well. And he's a real good free safety. And when we played them in Seattle, he dropped a really big interception. If he hadn't dropped that, things could have been very different. If Dre Greenlaw doesn't force that fumble against Travis Homer, also could have been very different. So I just felt like in both games with the Seahawks, and then in week 2, there were some key plays that sort of went our way that if they hadn't, the game could have been different. There was a play down near the goal line. I don't know if it was first or second down, but it was early. I don't think it was third down. And Pete Carroll did a trick play, a halfback option, and the running back shouldn't have thrown the ball, and he ended up throwing it right to Mooney Ward, who intercepted. And there was a big DK Metcalf catch downfield that was erased by an illegal man downfield. Oddly enough, in the playoff game, they had an illegal man downfield at least once, maybe twice in the wild card game. And then the third big play, week 2 at Levi's, was when we punted and they muffed the punt, and Ross Dwelly made a great recovery of the muffed punt down inside the 5, or for sure inside the 10. It was and goal situation, and we scored real quickly at a touchdown. So there were a lot of reasons why I thought it might be a close game. Pete Carroll, also, the rain, right? We had this crazy rain forecasted in the Bay Area, crazy rain on Friday. There was crazy rain yesterday on Sunday, and there was some rain on Saturday, but most of it missed the game. You know, I mean, like it was supposed to be like when we were tailgating, it was supposed to be like the night before I looked at the forecast, it was saying 100% rain at 11, 100% rain at noon, like 90% at 10, like, you know, crazy torrential rains for the tailgate. And there was almost nothing. Like we didn't put our rain gear on until almost right before we walked into the game. And then we got in there, and I think it rained some in the first quarter and maybe a little into the second. And then it kind of like the sun came out for a minute and it cleared up a little. And then there were some little patches of rain, but it never really poured for long in the game. There was a couple little sections, but nothing like what we expected. So I thought the rain would be a much bigger factor. And I thought it would be a equalizer for the Seahawks. And I guess I'm glad it wasn't, because I mean, gosh, it sure was like they were equal to us in the first half, right? I mean, we ended up, we had a 16-14 lead, and I tweeted it like 16-14 lead. We get the ball in the second half, and all of a sudden they got like 9 seconds on the clock, and Gino runs and Jimmy Ward cracks him as he's sliding with like 1 second left on the clock. Just enough time for the personal foul to get the 15-yard penalty to get them into field goal range. And they have a big kicker. I think his name is Myers. And he boomed like a 63-yarder or a 58-yarder. It was a real long field goal. And then all of a sudden it's like all the momentum's gone. We go into the half. We're losing 16-14. The only good thing was that we got the ball coming out in the second half. But I don't know. How much do you want me to do? You want me to just keep going through the game with my impressions, or?
No, I mean,
I've been going for a while. I don't want to like.
Oh, it's okay, man. I was gonna do the same thing with the explanation. Like, you know, when we played this Seahawks a third time, I thought this would have been more competitive. I mean, the way we played, you know, first half, it's always been we give our competition a close game for a second, and then the second half, it's more like we turn the lights off and knock them out. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, what you just said is true. It was supposed to rain. And the way you kind of explained it, yeah, but it didn't rain as hard, right? Because when I was there, it probably wasn't as bad as people said it was.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then, you know, coming out in the second half, it was kind of touch and go. Really, for me, I don't know about you, CG, but I felt like it really came down to, you know, we were already driving on the drive, so maybe we were already getting our dominance established. But it really felt because there's a big catch by Kittle, and that was great. And then like a little run by Mitchell, and then Mitchell gets stuffed. And then we throw 3rd and 7, and Purdy throws it to Debo, and he does his Debo thing. You know, he catches it maybe 5-10 yards out and ends up getting like 22, 25 yards on the catch total. A lot of broken tackles. And then Abram, you know, tackles him, and he gets up and he pulls his foot up to like waist height and twists it. And Debo obviously took exception to it. So did the rest of the team. And it's sort of like they started almost going to blows over it. And I think that really fired up the team. I felt like that was like, it's like, I think it was Matt Barrows or David Lombard. I think it was Matt Barrows said something like, don't period, make period, Debo period, angry, you know, something like that, you know? And I was like, totally, that's exactly what happened. The team got fired up. It was interesting, that drive capped off with, you know, Christian McCaffrey scores a touchdown, but they rule that he was short. And before they could even do the replay, Kyle's just like, screw it, just hurry up and go. And Brock Purdy snuck it in, which is kind of cool because it got Brock his 4th TD of the day. He got 3 throwing and that 1 rushing. And no rookie quarterback, QB, has ever scored 4 TDs in a playoff game before. So he broke a record there. And I think also there was something about 300 yards passing and 3 passing TDs. I think maybe no rookie QB's ever done that either, or no Niner QB has done it since like Steve Young and Joe Montana, something like that.
Oh, dude, it's so long time ago, but like there hasn't been a rookie that has done that. You know, he could have at least had another touchdown pass if Ayuk would have caught it. I mean, that play.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
I was just doing the rewatch, and it reminded me of that. Yeah, it was a great pass. after, he kind of went left, avoided a guy, went right, avoided a guy. He was able to step in. He really put some mustard on it. And that was one that, like, there's some people who think I'm a Brock Purdy hater out there because I've said, like, hey, he's not very tall and he doesn't have a very strong arm. And they're like, well, look at that. He has strong arm on that pass. And I'm like, yeah, he did. He stepped in and he had he put zip on the ball. That's great. But when I say strong arm, I'm talking about like doing that when you're like falling away or, off platform, as they say, not like where you step in and your full mechanics. You're supposed to have some zip when you do that, right? I mean, I think that's the difference.
Oh yeah, the zip and part of what they throw the ball for, but his arm strength is not like strong like most people would say. But when we saw how he plays, bro, he plays like backyard football. So it's like, I don't know, this sounds kind of a crazy comparison, but I'm starting to believe a little bit of the Mahomes hype a little bit, man. Like the way he gets away from the pocket, I see that from Mahomes a lot, dude. Like when you saw how he threw the ball, right? It's like, is this Mahomes if he was short? My God.
Short and a weaker arm. Yeah. I mean, I can see that definitely because Mahomes has a cannon and, you just can't compare the arm strength between the two. But yeah, the escapability, I've been saying all along, like Brock Purdy, he's got great mobility. He's got great decision-making. He's got great footwork and pocket presence and accuracy. So he's got almost everything you want. If he was just a little taller and had a little bit stronger arm, I would say this guy is like perfect. And I don't think you ever get quite perfect, but he's pretty close in a lot of those other areas. And so, is he good enough to win the Super Bowl? I think so. Is he because I thought Jimmy G was maybe good enough to win the Super Bowl. I just felt like more things had to be perfect for Jimmy G. Like almost everything would have to be perfect for Jimmy G. Like almost perfect health, almost perfect, refs, almost perfect, 50-50 balls, all the, the things that can go one way or the other in a game, almost all would have to go our way. But I thought we could win with Jimmy. I just think it'll be easier with Brock. I think less of those things have to go our way. We might be able to sustain more injuries and still do it. Knock on wood. Let's hope we don't have to worry about the injuries. It sounds like I saw a report today that Jennings and Ebukam both are day-to-day with ankle injuries. So that sounds about as minor as you can be, but still something to take note of.
Yeah, having Jennings like out there, if he's having a mild ankle sprain, that's going to be tough. But like you said it best, but I think Brock Purdy has all the supporting cast, dude. This is exactly what can bail any quarterback. Like Brock Purdy doesn't have to be the hero. He doesn't have to do as much like everybody says. I mean, the running game, it goes well, but we've seen when the running game doesn't go too well, he's been able to throw the ball. Like I like how he just takes his time. And even if the receiver doesn't catch it a couple of times, he'll still give him a chance to say, I trust you. I'm still going to give you the ball. And when it comes to him, he commands the huddle. Like you see most rookie quarterbacks, they just don't look ready. But when you see this kid, all he does is just show that veins like this, veins and all that. He shows a little firing. Like the more I watch him, it's more like I see like a mindset of a Tom Brady because Tom Brady feels that energy a little bit. You see that mentality, like he just doesn't lack confidence, and that's what you like in a quarterback position. I mean, stature-wise, yeah, he may be like as big as Drew Brees or so, but not like. But the way he works, because I've interviewed his QB coach in high school, and he's told me exactly what makes him so special is he puts in the extra work. And he looks for ways to improve his game more. So there's a lot more left in the game that he can definitely provide. So he's always looking for room to improve. He's always the last guy out. I mean, the first guy in and last guy out. Like he puts in the extra work.
Yeah, no doubt. Somebody dug up a tweet of mine from early in the season in September where I said, thank goodness we have Jimmy G. I didn't want to see Purdy. And I'm just like, I'm not going to delete it. I don't apologize for that. I didn't think Purdy was that great in preseason. I thought Sudfeld, who had the $2 million contract, was going to be the guy we went with because he had $2 million guaranteed. And I thought Purdy would probably get cut. Now, I'm sure as hell glad we didn't, right? And I just said to the guy, like, I didn't think Purdy was that great in preseason. He's improved since preseason. Clearly, he looked a lot better against the Dolphins and since the Dolphins than he did in preseason. He had a lot more boneheaded interceptions, I felt like, in preseason. And part of that is probably just not working with the weapons. You brought it up, right? We have this great supporting cast. I mean, I would say that we have the best group of weapons in football. Not maybe the best at every single position. I do think Kittle is the best tight end. And, I do think Juszczyk is the best fullback. And Debo is the best yak wide receiver. But, there's other receivers who are better route runners, including Ayuk, who have better hands. Ayuk has better hands too. But the whole group together collectively, like there is no group of weapons that's better than ours. And so, yeah, it's going to raise up any QB. We saw it with Jimmy G. He was playing pretty well before Brock came in. But the one weapon that really has benefited the most since Brock came in, and happened recently, was Kittle, because he had, 2 TDs in 3 of the last 4 games against Seattle, against the Commanders, and against the Raiders. Not the Raiders, the Cards. And he had 7 TDs in 6 games with Brock to end the season. And I thought that was amazing, because Kittle's best 16-game season total for TDs was 6. 2 years he had 5, and some other years he was quite a bit less than that. So in 6 games, he had more TDs with Brock than he's had in 5 seasons, 16 games of seasons with any of our other QBs. And that's just incredible. And it just shows what a difference Brock makes in the red zone, making those great decisions. I think part of it is, Kittle is probably rarely the first read down there in the red zone. And Jimmy tended to be a first read QB, at least until we got CMC. I did give Jimmy credit. I felt like once we got CMC, he started to go through his read progressions better, because he knew when he got to the end of it, he had a really viable weapon, and he needed to go at the right time. You don't want to go throw too early or too late to that weapon, certainly not too early, and before everything else clears out for them. And I think I'll credit also Brian Greasy. I think our QB coach has done a really good job with Jimmy, with Purdy, hopefully with Lance too. We'll see this offseason maybe as they start to do their competition.
Yeah, and to be fair, like Brian Greasy's kind of been the most underrated, like signing on our coaching staff. Like he's been a QB, and I wasn't really sure about this hiring, because I'm like saying, dude, this guy hasn't had coaching experience. I don't know, but he's played the position.
The concern.
I mean, he played the position. He has connections to the Shanahan, so it kind of makes sense, because they did it with John Lynch when he didn't have any experience as a general manager, but as a football player. So it's like kind of weird how you just go that direction and try to go outside the box a little bit. Sometimes it's kind of risky, but like you said it best, George Kittle's touchdown totals are like, dude, like him and Brock Purdy just have that combination. That's like they played forever, but you look at how Brock Purdy played in Iowa State. Who was that one go-to guy he would go to? That tight end, Charlie Cooler, whatever his name is. And I think that's where a quarterback's best friend is a tight end, because when they need those short yardage or a red zone threat, sometimes those tight ends are very viable. And Christian McCaffrey, even before we even got Christian McCaffrey, I thought Jeff Wilson did a pretty solid job. I thought he was capable, but I guess they wanted to.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, but I thought Jeff Wilson was good on our system, and whatever the reason was, I just didn't believe the rumors of wanting to get Christian McCaffrey. I'm like saying, dude, we can't get everybody, but the moment we got him, I was surprised, because I didn't see that coming. It was like, dude, we don't usually go this aggressive.
Yeah, I was super glad we got him. Not right that second. I was kind of like, wow, that's a lot of draft picks when we already don't have our first, to give up a second, third, a fourth, and then the fifth in 2024. But I got on Twitter, and, like I do sometimes, I did a poll and started arguing with people or asking people for their opinions. In this case, I didn't really want to take a stand on this one. And quickly I was like, I think this is the right thing. This is like a guy who's a lot like Debo, in that he can be a receiver or a running back. Debo is more of a receiver who can play running back. CMC is more of a running back who can play receiver. And they do a lot of the same things with Yak. It's just that McCaffrey was more of a make you miss guy, and Debo is more of a truck you, run you over, take your soul kind of guy, which I love. But also, you do worry about longevity with people who play like that. Him and Kittle, I worry about both of their longevities because of that. So So yeah, I mean, even before we even played the Chiefs, which was just a few days later, I was definitely all on board for CMC. And then, once we played the Chiefs, and even with barely knowing the playbook, he got more touches than any of our weapons in that game. And it was pretty clear, like, hey, when Mitchell comes back, who's ahead of Jeff Wilson Jr., there's really not going to be a lot of pie to go around for Jeff Wilson Jr. And also everybody was clamoring to see Jordan Mason all season. I think at that point he had one rush for 7 yards, and we're all like, give me more, give me more. And so when we traded him, I was just like, hey, I think this is a win-win. Like, I think it's good for Jeff. I think it's good for the Dolphins. I think it's good for the Niners. We got a 5th-round pick. And it'll hopefully help him to get a better contract next year for himself, because he is a free agent, whether it's with the Dolphins or someone else. I think he was able to showcase himself better there than he would have been able to here. And, so I'm happy for everyone in that. And luckily, Christian McCaffrey didn't get injured. That was a big concern with him, was injuries. And let's knock on wood, hope that continues for all of our teammates. But yeah, I'm happy for Jeff Wilson Jr. and happy for the Niners. I think it worked out best for everybody. And what we do with 5th-round picks, right? So it's like,
we make them into gems. Like, I mean, we've done it in previous years. I mean, George Kittle, for example, Dre Greenlaw. I mean, we can go on with Hufanga. But like,
Lenore isn't a star, but he's a good, solid starter. He's filled in admirably for Emmanuel Mosley. So,
I mean, he's not exactly is like the way you would say better than Mosley, but at least he holds his own at times. And some people have been kind of calling him the weakest link. And I think he took it to exception against Seattle. So I think he took it very personal when everybody called him the weakest link. And he responded.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was better than Mooney Ward in that game. No, granted, he wasn't going against DK as much as Mooney Ward was. But he had a good game against the Seahawks. He had a real good game in Seattle against the Seahawks too. Remember, he had that pick 6 that got called back.
Yeah.
The baloney
baloney call. Yeah, like you can say what you want to say about it. Like, yeah, that was a bogus call.
The acronym. Yeah, it's BS call, roughing call, where it was not roughing, and they just wanted to keep Seattle in the game. The refs, they know at 28-3 people change the channel. So. Unless it's the Falcons. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you gotta go. But speaking of this, man. Like, since we're gonna have to wait for the winner of tonight.
Yeah.
Like, okay, just from watching this game alone, who do you want to face? There's no judgment. Like, if you had to choose one of these two opponents, who would you rather face?
Clear answer. Yeah, it's clear answer. Cowboys.
Same here.
I want the Cowboys. Here. Yeah. And it's because I hate the Cowboys.
Me too.
And it's because all things equal, I'd much rather face Dak Prescott than Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the greatest playoff QB of all time at this point. I mean,
not even a question, but it's like whatever he's accomplished, it's already been above everybody else. What else does this guy need to prove? I mean, Dak Prescott, we've seen what he's all about, but if you play Dallas in the divisional round, it's pretty guaranteed they're not going to the conference championship. So we play our A game, and Dak's not playing his best ball as we speak, man. He's been throwing some turnovers, some pick 6, bro. Like, I mean, there's something we can work on. I think Dallas gives us more of a better game than Tampa Bay. I think the way we can slow down Tampa Bay is what we did, but the only difference of playing Tampa Bay is their 2 of their offensive linemen didn't play, so that might be the reason why we blew the brakes out of them. 2 of their starting safeties were out, I believe. But to be fair, they had
Vita
2.
Vita Vea went down early.
Yeah.
But, and then you got exactly right. Wirfs was out. Ryan Jensen was out. And Wirfs, man, he's arguably the best right tackle in football. If you want to say Lane Johnson for the Eagles then Wirfs is easily
underrated.
The second best right tackle in football. Ryan Jensen, you could argue, is one of the top centers. Who knows what he'll be like just first game back after missing the entire season since preseason. But he's a really good center. Yeah, Vita Vea is one of the best defensive tackles in the game.
Good run.
You said it. Both safeties. Murphy Bunting was out, who's their sort of third corner. but still a really good corner. And then their nickel corner got injured early in that game too. So I mean, that's exactly why. Yeah, because CG, I did a poll on this last night. I was like, hey, who do you guys want to play? And it was like 65-35 wanted to play the Bucks, and I'm just like, oh man, I just can't agree with that. Because the Bucks we saw is not the Bucks that the Cowboys will see tonight, or that we might see next Sunday. Plus, I think, I don't know how well the Dallas Cowboys fans travel for the playoffs, but the Brady fans show up at Levi's. So I don't want it to be like, a home crowd for Tom Brady at Levi's again, which it was. Now, that was a long time ago. From what I heard this last game at Levi's, it wasn't as bad. But when it was like Chip Kelly in 2016, and I was coming off of their Super Bowl win, the Brady fans showed up big time to Levi's. Like, it was probably 50-50 is what most people were telling me as far as the crowd there.
I mean, that's how popular Brady is, but he's been doing it for so many years. But okay, if I missed your comments on here, guys, let me check out okay, this is what he was talking about. We were talking about this earlier, but my opinion of this play, it could have been automatically a flag, but the refs didn't even call it. But the move that Abram did was he did kind of like a wrestling move where you kind of hurt your opponent's ankle or leg in the move. But you know what? What do you expect from ex-Raider players? They play dirty. They like to injure players on purpose. Like, let's be realistic. Like, anytime you play for a Raiders organization on defense, your intention is to hurt somebody on purpose.
Oh, that's right. Abrams, he was the safety that they drafted real high, right? Was he a first round or second round?
He was a first round.
I totally didn't even make that connection when they said Abrams. I was thinking Falcons for some reason. I think they had a guy named Jonathan Abram, but he might have been an O-lineman even. So I don't know.
He was an outside. He was a pass rusher for the Falcons, but Abram, Jonathan Abram. I mean, I think John Abram was like a safety they drafted from Mississippi State. He didn't pan out for quite so long. They cut him, they released him, and then he went to the Seahawks or something. I heard he was supposed to go to the Packers, but I guess it didn't work out, and he went to Seattle, and then. I don't know, like they say, like you can't leave what you left with the Raiders. You still have it in you, or something like that. Like that's always been the tactics of the Raiders. They always want to hurt their opponents on purpose. Yeah,
no doubt. And as far as them swapping jerseys, I can kind of see it. I mean, if if it was just, like I said, like that's the key moment where our team turned on and we kind of whipped them after that, then Devo might have almost been appreciative of it. At the end, not at the moment, obviously, because they were ready to go to blows. But later on, he might have been like, "Hey, you did us a favor. You woke us. You poked the sleeping bear, right, if you will." So I'm not as against it as I would have thought when it first happened.
Yeah, like maybe that's what fueled us because they're always bringing the best. Like sometimes when somebody makes a critical boneheaded mistake, they can either capitalize the next series. So. Debo fed off, but I think Abram might have just apologized to Debo and say, "My bad, bro. I didn't mean to do that." But I guess Debo said, "Hey, bro, you fired me up."
Yeah, could be.
But Brian Cope kind of disagrees with what we want. Like I personally want Dallas because I think Dallas will give us more of a matchup. Like Tampa, I don't know, dude. Like if we just stop Leonard Fournette and force Brady to throw the ball, which we've seen him done before, but if we keep covering those receivers, Brady's just kind of like whatever. He doesn't. I mean, he's a little bit mobile, but not as mobile as he used to. It's kind of like an old man walking with his cane, bro. Come on, I think we'll stop him, but they're gonna call flags, and that's the only concern I don't like. Is like, okay, you're gonna protect your quarterbacks, but why didn't protect Brock Purdy when he was out of bounds on the area, dude? That should have been automatic flag. That's what really pissed me off about that playoff game against Seattle was they didn't even call a flag when Purdy was hit out of bounds.
Yeah, there was a few flags they didn't call. They didn't call DK Metcalf holding on that first TD where Walker came around the left edge. Metcalf was brutally holding Mooney Ward in the end zone so that he couldn't make a play. I mean, nobody runs 7 yards on our D without contact. I mean, that's just doesn't happen. And I will say, I think Bryant isn't saying he hopes that Dallas wins or that Tampa wins. I think he's just saying he thinks Tampa won, and I do think Tampa will win too. I'm rooting for the Cowboys, but I expect Brady to win. And even if it's close and maybe the Cowboys could win. I expect the refs will help Brady win too.
So I'm pretty sure they'll try whatever they can. It's because Brady's like still selling tickets and everybody wants to still give this guy. Dude, this guy is old news, bro. Like, come on, let's move on to the next generation. Like, it's a young man's league, but Brady still sells tickets no matter how people look at it. Oh, here's a good question for you, Ted. Shout out to my boy John J. for Niners Ultimate Report. Maybe the both of you guys should collaborate soon. But question for Ted Ball. How long have you been a 49ers fan? Did you ever attend a game at Candlestick Park?
Yeah, I've been a Niners fan since 1976. I was a season ticket holder at Candlestick for several years. However, Saturday, Kezar, I'm not that old, Frank. Come on, man. You know what? You guys know the joke, though? You guys know why they had to close Kezar Stadium?
What was it?
Because they don't know where the keys are.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So yeah, I was a season ticket holder at Candlestick for several years. We did go to the playoffs quite a few of the years I was a season ticket holder. However, Saturday was my first NFL playoff game, first NFL playoff game, because a lot of times we would sell our season tickets. Or all the times we did, because you could get most of the season paid for with one. You sell the rights for the whole playoffs. So, if it's 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, whatever, it's, you sell the whole. Back then you would sell them all at once. And I think part of it was that we just were much more cash strapped back then in the middle of the late 90s as younger guys, recent college grads and whatnot. But part of it also was, I don't think we were as confident that the Niners would do as well as we've been doing lately in the playoffs. I mean, look at us. We're 5-2 in the last 3 playoffs. We've never lost a playoff game now at Levi's. We're 3-0 at Levi's, 2-0 in 2019, and 1-0 now in 2022. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, never Kezar though. I wish that would have been cool. I think Kezar. I mean, I'm pretty sure Candlestick we started in like 69 or 70. That was like right around when I was born. So
a different timing, like when they first started, they played at Kezar Stadium. So it's like,
for like the 50s and 60s, I think.
Yeah, during the $1 million backfield, during the time they were became their own team in the American Football League. So it's like you had like 3 good running backs that they called the $1 million backfield. Frankie Albert, before he became a coach, he was a quarterback. I mean, you had a lot of guys. So it's like Buck Shaw was a head. I think he was the first coach, if I'm mistaken. But like before we had some hitters, Hardy Brown was one of those unknown hitters during that time. Nobody talks about him to this day, but I never knew who he was until like decades ago. I started they talked about him being on one of the most feared hitters or something like that. And he popped up on one of the lists because a lot of these old players like Dick LeBeau praised about him, how scary he was. Like, you got to watch out for that guy. So I started doing a lot of research on watching him, and I started saying, man, okay, he gets feisty. He gets kind of physical with everybody.
What position did he play?
I think he played linebacker, but he was lighter back then because in linebacker they were either like 190 pounds or maybe a little more lighter than.
Yeah, it was a different era. I was just thinking, sort of like a big hitter before Ronnie Lott, because that's one of the first ones you think of with the Niners. So what a hitter he was. And now Hufanga kind of hits almost like that. He's a big hitter too, especially for his size.
Yeah, Hufanga, he has the hitting ability like a linebacker, but his coverage can be at times on point and then sometimes a little off. But I'm not disputing on what everybody believes in, but but I don't know. I think Tampa would probably be like a no-brainer for us if we want to get past her. But I think Dallas would give us more of a matchup, if I'm being honest. I mean, unless Dak Prescott chokes tonight, then we'll all know it's gonna be Brady versus Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy,
One problem the Cowboys have is they lost Anthony Brown, who is, I wouldn't say he's a star corner, but I think on a different team he would be a star. It's just that he plays across from Trayvon Diggs, who gets all the publicity. And because he's the ball hawk. He gets all those interceptions. But Anthony Brown is kind of like really good coverage.
Underrated.
And still gets some interceptions, just not as many as Trayvon Diggs. So, super underrated. So I think they'll miss him some. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if the Cowboys D can play like it did early in the season. I mean, they were up there with us and the Bills as the top 3 Ds in the NFL there for a while. But we and the Bills persisted, and the Cowboys have fallen off lately.
Well, dude, the Niners kind of missed out on getting this one guy that the Cowboys just got on their secondary, like Darron Bland, the guy from Fresno State, bro. I've been watching this guy play. He was a transfer from Sacramento State, I believe. But he's already he has 5 interceptions. He's actually kind of held his own. Even when Anthony Brown's been out, he's kind of held his own at that position. Darron Bland, bro. I was doing a lot of deep research because I've been going to some Fresno State games, so I've been checking a lot of these players. So he kind of came off my radar later because I had to check out more of him, and I liked his ball hawk skills. It seemed like he had the ability that could translate at the next level, but he was drafted by Dallas at the 6th round, and he's kind of becoming I think he's like their second leader, and I think he leads the team in interceptions with 5 or something like that, if I'm mistaken.
Wow. That's really impressive. So Fresno State, CG, did you get to watch much of Devontae Adams and Derek Carr down there?
Actually, I've met Derek Carr and Adams at one point. I was
cool.
I was in one semester at Fresno State because I had an opportunity to take some classes and all that stuff. And they were always around the campus. I would always pump into their practice field to check what's going on. And you can see they have a really good chemistry. You can see why they want to play together because they had that chemistry, but it's not the same when it's 8 years ago. There's a difference, but they still got it. It's just when you're with Rodgers for so long, you get used to Rodgers. But you can't go back to the past. You know what they say? Don't go back to the old girlfriend. It didn't work out with the last one,
It doesn't. Usually those breakups, they're for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, as far as membership fan clubs, dude, I go to the ones in the Central Valley and they take us to games. So I've been to a lot of games, but this season I've only been to the Saints game. I was going to see if I was going to meet up with you there, but I met up with Gina there, and I met up with Debbie and the others. Then I went to the Commanders game, so that was a cool experience. I got a chance to be a little more closer to the players, and it looked like those securities were about to say something. I was just taking a little close up and see what's going on. I was just sneaking in and just saying, hey, man. And I had a little close peek with Juwan Jennings a little bit, and then I saw how Burford was looking towards me, he was staring towards me, giving me that look hey, I see you.
Nice. Yeah, I went to the Rams game Monday night, week 4. And then, I was at the Saints game. The problem with meeting up for me at the Saints game was a family member knew somebody who has a luxury box there. And so I got to go to a luxury box, and we didn't do any tailgating. We just rolled in right before game time and didn't have much time to go around and meet folks, unfortunately. But one of these days we'll have to do that. And then obviously got to go here to the Seahawks game, which also another reason I was nervous with the Seahawks, CG, was I knew I was going to the game. My buddy had already invited me before we knew who we were playing. And I was 0-2 against the Seahawks. So
that would have been bad luck, man. That's why I don't blame you, bro. You probably didn't want to go so bad, right?
I was almost I'd rather not go and win than go and lose, So not that, obviously you give yourself
you believe in superstition a little bit, right?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, a lot of fans are superstitious. I'm super superstitious for sure. And so I'd been Monday night of 2019, week 10. When Chase McLaughlin, shanked that field goal in overtime to win it.
That was weird.
And then I was there I think it was week 4 of 2021 when Jimmy hurt his calf, and we saw Trey Lance for the first extended play for an entire half against them, and we came up a little short, mostly because of Trenton Cannon's fumbled kickoff return was really what killed us. That was 7-point differential. Russ scored right away, and that was a 7-point differential, and we lost by 7. So it could have been a much different game other than that. Brian Culpo, Brian, don't feel bad because while we're like 3-0, the Niners are at Levi's in the playoffs. Like our home record in regular season is I want to say it's like 40-60 or something like that. I mean, not exactly those numbers, but 40% wins and 60% loss. We've definitely lost more there than we've won
most of the time. Yeah, like when I was like most of the Levi Stadium games I've been to, I'm either like 6-3, so I've been to 9 games in Levi. So I've been to one count. Yeah, I've been to one.
Got to get you to more games, CG. I'll give you my ticket next time.
Oh man, dude! Like hey, I gotta give a shout out to 400 Street Squad Chili Will, man. He made it happen for me to go to that Commanders game, dude, and it was a blast. Like hanging around with him and a couple of other content creators, bro. It was fun. It was too bad that John Chapman wasn't around, bro. I was willing to like meet up with John Chapman and Wayne Breezy, but they weren't there. But I held it down, so it was cool to see a lot of the other guys. Like I've been to the Candle State Park game in 2008, where it was the season finale against the Redskins, which is now the Commanders, But I still think of them to this day as, no matter how people look at it, I still think of them as the Redskins because that's my sister's team, that's my uncle's team. No matter how people look at it, Commanders, I don't know. It just seems like a little, I don't know, bro. Like I still think of them like no matter how people think of it, it's just, I grew up into football and that's the team I always remember them as, they were just named that, but they just took a change out of it because they think it's so offensive. Like even for me as a Native American, it doesn't seem as offensive. It's just maybe the way they look at it.
Fair enough. Yeah. Everybody's got their own ways of doing it. I didn't like Commanders or Washington football team, but what are you going to do?
Exactly. They're just taking more of offense. They didn't want to take a chance out of it, which I understand. It's business perspective, but Brian Cope, you went to that Packers game. No wonder why we lost to the Packers last year at home. Damn you, Brian. I'm just playing. I'm just messing with you, man. I'm messing with you. No, but in all
that was the game. That was the game that I fell out of love with Jimmy G. Not out of love. I never loved him. I don't love any player, but I definitely was a big Jimmy G stan for a long time, from 2019, 2020 into 2021. I knew once we drafted Trey Lance, it was just a matter of time, and that was like for me. Now it's time. It was after that Green Bay game. I saw the way they were playing those 6-man elephant fronts and daring him to throw, and he wouldn't throw deep. And when he did throw deep, Jair Alexander picked it off when he tried to hit Kittle deep. And I was just like, we're only gonna go as far as we can carry Jimmy Luggage, I started calling him. So after that, I was like, put in Trey Lance, and I was the biggest Jimmy G hater everybody called me. I don't hate him either. I just I just know he's limited, and I'm just really glad we have Brock Purdy now. It's amazing the difference in my mood when I watch a game. It's like with Brock, it's just like we're just waiting for like, oh, when's he gonna bust one? When's he gonna hit a big play, a big TD? And with Jimmy, it's like, when's he gonna throw the interception? When's he gonna fumble? When's he gonna take a sack or just do something boneheaded? And the decision making is just so much better with Brock. It's just night and day.
Dude. Oh, here's what Cowboy Angel said best, bro. This is one of my favorite players. I love me some me. TL, bro. That dude had some entertaining. That dude was a diva, but he knew how to deliver. But to answer your question, Chua, we both said, didn't we just say Cowboys, right? I actually want Dallas.
Yeah, I want Dallas too, because I'm just thinking Ryan Jensen will just be another week better next week. They like I said, they got Wirfs back, they got Vita Vea back, they got their safeties back, they got Murphy Bunting back. Their
it will be a close game. It'd be a lot closer.
When you lose 2 safeties, a good corner, and a nickel corner, that's 4 out of maybe 6 of your DBs. They still had the 2 guys on the edges, Carlton and
Carlton Davis is a cornerback, and then they had I think Shaq Barrett is on IR.
The tall guy. No, that's true. Barrett was out too, but he's still out. No, but who's the tall corner for the Bucks? He's tall and long. Like he has real long arms and legs. I'm blanking on the guy's name.
I forget his name too, but
I'll look it up.
I think I know who you're talking about. He's that one lengthy cornerback, but I think he plays a little bit of both ways. Isn't it Murphy?
No, well, Murphy Bunting, he's good, but he's not the starter per se. Like, I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which one you're talking about, but I think I know which one you're talking about. It's not Carlton Davis, it's another dude.
Davis, that's the one starter, but I was thinking of the other guy, Jamel Dean. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay, Jamel Dean, yeah.
He's very tall and very long arms, long legs.
Very lengthy, kind of like exactly how Seattle has that tall lengthy corner also. So it's like,
yeah, Tariq Woolen.
Yeah, dude, there was a lot of opportunities we passed on some corners, man. Like, so we waited so long to get Tyree Castro Fields, and then we cut him. Man, what it could have been if we would have got Darren Bland or Tariq Rowland, bro. Would have been different. But, I mean, Womack, don't get me wrong, he's got potential, but we'll see.
Yeah. But I mean, these other guys are like, they're out there doing it now. So I'd always take the bird in the hand, versus like the one who could be, we'll see, could develop.
But I like what I've seen from Tyreek Woolen, the link size, bro. He's quick, like really quick.
Oh, yeah.
And he's gotten better.
6'4" and 4'2". I mean, the guys.
That's rare.
They say he's just like a fast Sherm, because Sherm, like the only knock on Richard Sherman was he was just a little bit slow.
Yeah, speed-wise.
And
but he
great hands. Yeah.
But like Tyreek Woolen, he'll get better because he's getting the experience he needs. And even though we just drafted Burford, I would have thought maybe we would have took him along also, man, but we didn't. And I would have thought maybe we would have went into the local area, maybe go towards deep in the Central Valley. Maybe we would have took a flyer on Darren Bland, but no, the Cowboys took him. That would have been a good depth piece to have. But hey, Lenoir's stepping up and doing what he can, man. But he calls himself the Hyena, so it's like that's a good nickname because the way he smiles.
I like it.
And I've talked with his sister before, like a year ago or something, and she would tell me exactly how he plays and the way he comes into the way he prepares and all that stuff. I felt like there was something there, but I said, man, it's just a matter of when he gets his opportunity, but we'll see. There's those moments where I get frustrated with him at times, but then there's times he's on point. So it's like, you can live with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I didn't scout. I mean, I knew who Tariq Woolen was because of the combine, right? Because he ran a 4.2. So I knew his name, but I just thought he was kind of like, same thing as like, say, like the Patriots, right? They have that fast receiver that they drafted who's also 4.2, Tyquan Thornton.
Thornton. Yeah, Thornton.
So I just kind of thought the same thing, like one of these speed guys who, just track guy trying to play football rather than what he really is, which is like, a football player who just happens to have track speed.
Those guys with track speed are something that you be impressed by. But who would usually draft those kind of players is Al Davis. Anybody with that fast speed, like Tyreek Woolen, you would be a Raider if it was in Al Davis's time. I mean, Thornton, you would be a Raider. I mean, it just – anytime I see anytime my buddies who are Raider fans, they always say, hey, that's who we're going to draft because that guy's fast. I'm like, true, but not this type of era. You guys don't do that as much as you used to.
And then that Bland guy I'd never heard of. I'll claim ignorance, but so good on you to know who that was.
I did a little research on him, and I thought he was like a solid starter, like from the time he was in Fresno State, but he was a transfer from Sacramento State. So there wasn't as much scout out of him, but I thought he was kind of like a sleeper, sneaking up the radars a little bit. So he was a late radar guy. I was doing some research on him also because I've watched him play. But there's another player that I took the chance to get a heads up on, and he ends up being the starting guard, which is Burford. So, you always get your starters at some point. It doesn't matter which round you get. But, yeah, Bland, he's actually leading the Cowboys in interceptions. I don't think it's Diggs that's got the most picks right now. I think it's Bland.
That's wild. I will say, though, to Diggs' credit, there was the year where he led the league in interceptions. I think he had 10 or 11. I think he had 11. And he also led the league in yards given up. He gave up over 1,000 yards. So I do think that while his interceptions have gone down this year, as a bad thing for him, as a good thing, I'm pretty sure he's not getting burned like he used to. So
no, they're avoiding him. They're avoiding him because he can get those interceptions. Because last year, he was direction, and he got I think he had about like 13 or something interception or something.
Something crazy, yeah.
I mean, he was on
I knew it was at least 11.
he was on a streak where he had consecutive interceptions, so it was more like you better avoid his direction. But you can burn him at times if you build the scheme like the way we did with Ayuk. And I don't know yet, man. Laura, I don't know. Like, okay, so if we were to play Dallas, should we even double on CD? I don't know intentionally. I would rather go with Travarius Ward, let Ward go at CD Lamb, and then let Lenore just go at Michael Gallup or whoever they got at wide receiver there. So that would be my kind of strategy, because you want the physical receiver to be on one of their better receivers.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I don't think CeeDee Lamb is like crazy fast either, so it's not like he's going to just totally leave Charvarius Ward in the dust. I think you could play physical with him. Yeah, I like that plan. Because you got to make sure you can stop. I would say Zeke, but I guess really it's Pollard now.
Yeah, I think the game plan is we got to slow down Pollard, and Zeke may not be the same running back, but he'll give you those yards for sure. So when I saw this game yesterday, I was kind of concerned a little bit about the Bills, because Josh Allen's kind of been making some mistakes, and then Buffalo's been kind of like not playing up to their level. So it's kind of a worrisome if we were to play them down the stretch. It's like the Miami Dolphins were onto the third string quarterback, kind of like what we were doing, but except we're still winning. So it's like, how do they go with these third string quarterbacks? It's beyond me.
It's crazy. I mean, and then you look at Tyler Huntley was playing well for the Ravens. I mean, you could argue that if they hand the ball off again to their running back instead of doing the sneak, where you put the ball up in the air and Logan Wilson just batted it away to I'm trying to think of the other name. It's not Trey Hendrickson, but their second defensive end, their DE2. Who's from Cincinnati, who scooped it up and ran down like 95 yards for the score. As far as so the question was, are we less worried about Josh Allen because of his mistakes? Yeah, he's been making a lot of mistakes, but I'm still would be worried to play Josh Allen. I mean, he still chucks the ball deep. He's still a monster.
Oh yeah,
he's big, he's strong, he can run, he's got a cannon.
I mean, he does everything.
He's got Diggs. He's got
Knox a tight end, he's good.
Yeah, Knox is very good. And then their second receiver,
Gabe
Davis.
He's underrated.
Real good. They just brought Beasley up off of IR. He didn't look that great in the game, but they're getting Jamison Crowder back, I think, who had been out on IR. They just activated him, and Micah Hyde. That's a big one.
Oh, he's going to return. That can be a boost for their defense too.
So. Yeah, that's huge because he's like Poyer. I think he's better than Poyer, and Poyer has been their difference maker on that D a lot of times. So Micah Hyde would be a big concern for me. And then, but who's the guy? Something Shakir? Khalil Shakir.
Oh yeah, that receiver. Yeah, the one they drafted.
He had a few big catches yesterday too, didn't he?
Yeah,
Khalil
he had some pretty nice.
I think that's
he had a nice couple of catches, and then he made some key plays.
The rookie, right? He's a rookie.
One.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would still worry Josh, especially if you play him and he doesn't make all those mistakes, which happens from time to time. I know he's had a lot of fumbles and interceptions this season. So what happened yesterday is not unusual per the 2022 season, but, they still have a great defense. The thing with the Bills is they don't run the ball well. And they typically don't defend the run very well, but they seem to defend it pretty well against the Dolphins. The Dolphins didn't seem to be able to run very well yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. I know at least in the first half they didn't.
I think the way that would concern me is if they go down to the Super Bowl. If they go to the Super Bowl and they still win these games that they shouldn't have won, like let's say Kansas City, if they were to play them and win that game, and then they play a team like the Niners or whoever. Because the Niners defense, they capitalize a lot of those mistakes. Dolphins, they're a young team. They didn't get a chance to capitalize a lot of that stuff. But with Brock Purdy at quarterback compared to Skylar Thompson, bro, we would have been capitalizing everything by then. I would be concerned for Bills, Like maybe Buffalo could advance, but Kansas City, they're kind of sketchy a little bit too. And then
Well,
the Bengals.
I was gonna say, should we talk about the games this weekend then, son?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So first game on Saturday is Jags and Chiefs.
Oh yeah, Jags and Chiefs. Like, you know, it can be a very interesting game, but it's gonna have to come down to KC. I trust KC more than Jacksonville. I like Jacksonville. They're hot. They're playing good football, but Kansas City, they can beat teams like this. You know, it would surprise me if it's an upset.
I think it would surprise me a little. I think the Chiefs maybe are a little overrated, but I think their defense has been playing a little bit better towards the end of the season than people might realize. Everybody kind of usually thinks of that as a weak link for the Chiefs. I did see somebody tweet out after the Jacksonville game when they came back and they beat the Chargers. One of the bigger reporters on Twitter was saying Trevor Lawrence has never lost on a Saturday. So that was kind of interesting to me. He's still undefeated on Saturday. So I guess whenever he lost some of those playoff games, they weren't on a Saturday. I don't know. It was an interesting stat. I don't think it really has much relevance. I do think the Chiefs will win, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Jags upset them. I feel like they can't, you know, they were kind of almost out of it and they rallied. They've been playing well towards the end, and that's what you really want. It's not how you start the season, it's how you end it. And they ended it well. And obviously, you know, I was surprised they beat the Chargers, especially after the Chargers were up like they were in that game. I mean, I watched till halftime of the game, and then I had to put my son to bed. And I was thinking, I probably won't even want to watch this game when I'm done. And I think at some point here this week, I'm going to make sure to watch the end of that game and just see what the heck happened.
Oh, dude, it kind of reminds me a little bit of that Colts game, because when they were playing the Vikings,
yeah,
it was a different tune. Like, oh, okay, I'm not going to watch it. Okay, I want to go take a nap. And then you wake up the next hour or so like, hey, close game? Okay. And then you're saying, like, whatever, but that was kind of like a crazy game. Like, Chargers always choke, and it seems like that's what they always do. They do the chargering, so it's kind of weird. You expect it, but that game alone was kind of like, I just wasn't sure about Jacksonville. You know, like, you know, sometimes those AFC South teams haven't proven nothing this year, and it seems overrated. But now you look at Jacksonville; they're playing hot, so it's kind of a tough team to beat when they're very hot. So when you look at the next game, okay, we were talking about the Niners and Seahawks. You know, it's hard to beat a team for a third time, but we made it look. We were playing a lot close in the first half, and then everything just shut down from the second half. So it was like a different situation. Like, I was thinking at first, like, you know what? We're not quite a first half team. We're either a second half football team.
Absolutely, we are. Yeah, and I was still starting to worry a little bit. The guy next to me at Levi's was just like, "Come on, man! You know, this is what the Niners do. We're gonna be fine." I was just like, I was starting to worry, and thank goodness he was right and I was wrong. So, so then next game is what do we got? It was Eagles and Giants.
Oh, for the Eagles and Giants. Oof. That's going to be a tough one, because we just talked about how Seattle and the Niners, right? Like, it's hard to win a game a third time. We only did it just because we've had a better game plan lately. But last time it happened, the Giants were playing a very close game with their backups.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. They got to within 8 points in that game. I remember I was doing a Cards live stream with Ryan, and towards the end, I started flipping channels to see what was going on in that game. And I remember the Giants got to within 8. And I was like, oh my God, they might actually do it. And then, like, the next drive, the Eagles just, you know, got a first down and they just ran out the clock. Or something like that. Something happened that iced the game real quickly. Or they scored a field goal or something like that. Yeah, I think with all their starters, the Giants could do a little better. I mean, I know the Eagles are getting back They're getting back Lane Johnson, that star right tackle I talked about, maybe the best right tackle in football, arguably. But he does have a strained or torn abdominal muscle, so that
can be concerning.
he,
Yeah,
he will not be 100%. But they did get back. They did get back two pretty key guys before that. They got back, well, one key guy, CJ Gardner Johnson, CJGJ, who used to be a Saint, who's now the safety / nickel for them.
the Eagles. Yeah, it's like
He's really good. He's a big hitter. He's a little dirty. I always thought he was dirty as a Saint. He did some dirty stuff.
he tried to do that to Kittle. Yeah,
Yeah, and he did it in a playoff game. I remember he hit a receiver. I think it was against the. How could it be against the Titans?
I think it was against the Bears, like not in the playoffs, but it was in the regular.
Or maybe it was in the, or maybe it was against the Titans towards the end of that season. And where there was like a Titans receiver who went up and it was like his dirty play. He hit him, a defenseless receiver. But anyway, and then the other guy they're getting back is Robert Quinn too, who's a pretty good pass rusher. He's a little over the hill, but he's like all these like kind of 33, 34-year-old pass rushers who still have a little something left, and
a little something.
Maybe he can dig something up for a playoff game.
They're trying to go deep on. They're trying to go deep on the edge rushers and try to get to the quarterback. But can it be possible that the Giants upset the Eagles? Because it's pretty rare to win a third time because the Giants were playing close. But maybe we're overreacting. Maybe this is the year that these teams get beat a third time.
I mean, it comes down to Jalen Hurts, right? And his shoulder. He's got that sprained shoulder. Is it better? I don't know. That seems like something that could linger throughout the playoffs for him, and Lane Johnson. So those are two big, huge question marks on their offense. So we'll see. But I mean, I wouldn't bet on the Giants, but I wouldn't. I'm curious. I wonder what the spread is. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, it could be possible because we've seen some teams that are like a low seed can upset a couple of games. Like they'll probably upset a couple of teams and then they'll just lose the next game or something. Because we did it last year as a low seed and we actually knocked down two Super Bowl contenders and then we went to the conference.
They haven't dropped the odds, I think, because we're still waiting on the Cowboys Bucks tonight.
So we'll check the results and all that stuff. So pretty much, but
that's certainly the Eagles will be favored, and
I would think so.
I think that's with good reason.
It's because they're at home; they got the best record, and Jalen Hurts is gonna play. Maybe, hopefully, he shakes up the rust. But we'll see. He did play, like you said. The shoulder can be a lingering down the stretch, and Lane Johnson's torn abdominal could be concerning for him. But. We'll wait and see what happens. But I know we've been going on for a little longer, bro. And I know it's been a blast, bro. But maybe next time I'll come down your show if you want to, man.
You're always welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure, bro. Like, your stuff. We talk all Niners topic, man. But realistically, dude, I really want the Cowboys so bad, bro. I just want beat Dallas again so I can brag towards my mom. And brag towards the rest of my family because they're Dallas fans and I can't get the end of it until we beat them again. So we beat them in Dallas last year. That kind of felt like an atmosphere that I love. Just to not hear a damn word out of them for at least the entire season. They were talking all season. They were like saying, we're going to beat you guys. We're going to beat you guys. And then, we beat them.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely – I hate the Cowboys more than I hate Brady, so I would really love to beat the Cowboys. I also think the Cowboys might be an easier out for us just because of all the defenders coming back for the Bucks and the two linemen. I mean, Wirfs and Jensen are just studs. You give Brady time, even our defense is going to have trouble with weapons like Evans and Godwin. And the other guys they've got there, Cameron Brate, and they've got some good weapons in Tampa. Russell Gage, right? Is he back? I think he's.
Yeah, he's another
back.
slot receiver for the Bucks. Yeah, and
He's
yeah,
good. He was real good in Atlanta, and he's good for the Bucks. So they got 3-4 weapons that can hurt you. Plus, as you mentioned, playoff Leonard Fournette. I don't want any part of them. Ideally,
well, unless we.
I think we can beat whoever, but I think we have a better chance of beating the Cowboys. The Bucks being healthy. I just don't, like I said at the beginning, I think, like, all things equal, I'd rather play Dak Prescott than Tom Brady. And maybe they're not equal, but I think I still would rather play Dak than Brady.
Oh, dude, here's a fun fact about the Cowboys. They could only win a wild card game, but the next game, divisional round, they can't get past. So to answer Shay tweeted's question, it's definitely Dallas because it's guaranteed we're going to the conference. Tampa Bay, it's kind of like a 50-50. Like, I don't know if the refs play it fair, they're going to try to protect Brady, protect the old man. So we don't want to be the defense doesn't want to be charged with assault and abuse elderly or whatever.
Elderly abuse, yeah.
Elderly abuse.
There.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. And yeah, I mean, and I just think we're better than we were last year, and the Cowboys are the same or not as good as they were last year. So
the only difference is they don't have Amari Cooper. They don't got
Amari Cooper. Yeah. That's the biggest difference I see. I mean, they might have a couple better defenders, like the guy you talked about, Bland.
Oh yeah, he's wrong. I think the upside's up.
I don't think he's better than Anthony Brown. So yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see, and I think we can beat either team. Let me be clear about that. I don't think we can't beat the Bucks. I just want the easiest path to win number 6.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And ideally to poop on the Cowboys along the way.
Yeah, stomp on the Cowboys. That would be the road. But realistically, dude, like, I don't care if it's even the Bucks or the Cowboys, but I really want the Cowboys. But realistically, it could be the Bucks from the looks of it, because
if I'm picking the Bucks tonight, even though they're favorites. Oh, Perk Dog in the house. What's up, Perk?
Yeah, Perk Dog. He doesn't want none of that old man Brady's little. I mean, dude, Dallas. We already seen what Dallas' ceiling is. Wild card win. They could win a wild card game. It's very slim, but when they win a wild card game, they don't get past divisional round. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, they haven't been to the NFC Championship game this century. So they've only won 2 playoff games. In fact, they only won one with Romo and one with Dak, and that's it. So they're both those quarterbacks for Dallas are 1-3 in the playoffs.
To Shay's tweets, Dan, I disagree. We can beat Philadelphia, bro. Philadelphia, who have they have struggled against certain teams that we can beat, bro. Even though people want to just say Jalen Hurts, yeah, he's great, but we've played him before. Even without AJ Brown, we've been able to stop some players. So I think we have a chance to beat Philadelphia. I don't care if it's the Eagles or the Giants, bro. I believe we have what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. We just have to get past our next opponent. But people are hyping the Eagles. I get it. They have the best record in football. Dude, you just play by what you play by. But do I really think the Eagles are better? Do you think the Eagles are a better football team as far as like a physical football team? I don't think they compare close to that. Like Eagles, I'll give credit. Their defensive line's pretty outstanding. Like you said, they got some good, talented defense, but it doesn't compare to the Niners defense. That Niners defense is ferocious. Like the running game's better than the Eagles. You can say Miles Sanders is a gifted running back too, but Christian McCaffrey is a better running back. He can do everything. You look at the rest of the guys, bro. The Eagles don't have answers. We have a lot of weapons. Who they got? They got, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, and who else? Nah, they got the tight end Dallas Goedert. They got Miles Sanders. Nah, it doesn't compare to the Niners' weapons. Like, okay, we were talking about our receivers, right? Ayuk, Debo, Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, George Kittle. Pick your poison. Niners are definitely going to match up pretty well against the Eagles. Dude, if you don't watch, you don't understand the metaphor, bro. Dude, I get it because you're a Rams fan. Of course, you're going to pick the Eagles, but realistically, they don't match up to us. Have you seen how they played? They couldn't even beat the Saints even without Jalen Hurts, bro. That was different. That was last year. So what? DK burned us this year. DK really did burn us, huh? But we still got it done. But the point is, bro, we've been going on forever, and I know this has kind of been interesting for a lot of these other haters, but we kind of feed off the energy. So for everybody else, man, what?
Real quick, I was going to ask you what your thoughts were before we go on the Bengals and Bills. That's a big one.
Oh, Bengals and Bills. That was supposed to be like a game that everybody wanted to see, and it was stopped because of the DeMar Hamlin issue. So it's like,
right.
That game, that can come down to the wire. I mean, Buffalo, the way they're playing, it kind of concerns me more. As much as I want to go with Buffalo, I kind of have a feeling it's going to go to the Bengals.
I was thinking Bengals, but then they lost Lyle Collins, their right tackle, and then in this last game, they lost their left tackle. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes back. That might be the one guy who makes the difference for me. Like, if the Bengals get their left tackle back, I'll probably pick them. But if they don't, I'll probably pick the Bills. That's probably how I'll say it. We'll see.
I would prefer Buffalo more than Cincinnati because they're more loaded. In Buffalo, they just have some talented receivers, but Josh Allen makes everybody good. So it's kind of like we face Aaron Rodgers in a way. We just take away certain weapons, and that's it. Stop the running game. That's it.
I like it. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be talking about NFC Championship game next week.
Dude, yeah, for sure. So for everybody else, man, thank you guys for tuning in, and go check out my guy. Before we leave the show, can you tell everybody where they can find your channel and where they can search you on social media platform? Yeah,
sure. I'm at TedH6 on Twitter. On YouTube, it's Ted Talks Ball. And then I also write for all49ers.com, or on Twitter, it's at all49ersfn for my articles. I should be doing my Seahawks summary later today, so it might be out by tomorrow.
All right, for sure, man. But for everybody else, man, we appreciate you guys for tuning on the show, and I'll definitely see you guys later on for the round check. But yeah, go check out Ted Talk Ball. Good dude, does good content, has a good co-host with his content creator guy he works with. And all I can say is, man, this is an awesome Niners content creator, man. So go check him out. I approve this. But for everybody else, we'll catch y'all later. And as always, go Niners!
Go Niners. Thanks for